Grandma's royal blessings. Princess Leonor cherished with ancestral gifts from Christian's family. The palace halls are always filled with tradition, elegance, and expectation. We've all seen royal ceremonies and glittering tiaras passed down through generations. But what if I told you that one quiet moment, one act of love, carried more power than any throne? Imagine a grandmother's blessing, not given in words, but sealed in gifts that carry the weight of history. Now picture this blessing bestowed not on her own child, but on the future queen of another country. This is the story of Princess Leonor, and the ancestral gifts that changed everything. Princess Leonor's arrival into Prince Christian's family home was expected to be formal, structured, and bound by centuries of protocol. Yet what unfolded was something far more intimate, something that left even seasoned royal observers speechless. Because behind the grandeur of palaces, behind the crowns and the ceremonies, lie families, families with stories, with hopes, with fears, and with love passed down through the generations. The gifts Leonor received were not mere ornaments. They were relics of legacy, items that once rested in the hands of ancestors who had lived, fought, and loved in eras long past. Each gift carried with it not only material value, but spiritual weight, an unspoken blessing from one generation to another. The question that lingers is this: what does it mean when a royal grandmother chooses to pass these heirlooms to someone who was not born into her lineage? The first gift was delicate, yet powerful. A necklace said to have belonged to a queen whose reign guided Denmark through a time of turbulence. The gold shone brightly, but it was the story behind it that mattered most. It symbolized resilience, the ability to stand tall when storms threatened to drown everything. By placing it around Leonor's neck, Christian's grandmother was not just adorning her with beauty, she was entrusting her with strength. But that was not the only gift. There was also a set of embroidered linens, handwoven generations ago, never meant to leave the family estate. These linens were not grand jewels, but they spoke of something more intimate: the warmth of home, the quiet legacy of women who had held families together through wars, marriages, and loss. By giving them to Leonor, the grandmother was sending a silent message: you are now one of us. You will carry our story forward. Why did this moment stir so much emotion? Because it wasn't just about the gifts. It was about acceptance. Royal families are bound by rules, titles, and alliances, yet here, in the simplest of gestures, was something far greater: a grandmother embracing the woman who would stand beside her grandson, not as an outsider, but as kin. Observers later noted that Princess Leonor's eyes welled with tears as each gift was presented. For her, this was not just a ritual. She understood the weight of it. Spain's future queen was being tied, not by politics, but by love, into the very fabric of another monarchy's past. The ancestral gifts became living threads, weaving her into Denmark's story. What followed was even more fascinating. The grandmother, breaking from custom, shared personal stories tied to each object. She spoke of the queen who had worn the necklace, who had known both glory and heartbreak. She recalled the nights when the linens had been spread over tables during gatherings that kept a fractured family united. These were not tales told for cameras or public spectacle, they were intimate confessions, reserved for someone trusted, someone chosen. And here lies the curiosity: why Leonor? Why did Christian's grandmother decide to give these heirlooms to her, instead of keeping them within her direct bloodline? Some say it was a gesture of faith, a belief that Leonor possessed the grace and resilience needed to carry their history forward. Others whisper that it was a subtle yet profound statement, that the future of royalty would not be confined by national borders, but bound by shared values and love. As the evening closed, the atmosphere in the room shifted. What began as a traditional presentation of gifts transformed into something sacred. It was no longer a political meeting of two royal families, it was the uniting of souls across time. Leonor, overwhelmed yet deeply composed, bowed her head in gratitude, not as a princess of Spain receiving treasures, but as a granddaughter receiving blessings. This act raises another question: what role do these ancestral blessings play in shaping the future? Some argue that gifts such as these, imbued with history, are not just symbols of heritage, but talismans meant to guide and protect. For Leonor, stepping into a future where duty will test her, where her love for Christian will be scrutinized, such blessings might carry a strength invisible to the world. The story does not end with the exchange. In the days that followed, whispers spread across Europe. Commentators speculated whether this act signaled a deeper union between the monarchies of Spain and Denmark. Could this grandmother's gesture foreshadow a shared destiny between two nations? Or was it simply a personal act of love, hidden behind royal walls yet powerful enough to stir global curiosity? For Leonor and Christian, it was both. It was the merging of two legacies, carried not in treaties or declarations, but in the quiet passing of heirlooms across a table. And for those who witnessed it, it became a reminder that beneath the crowns and titles, the true strength of royalty lies in the bonds of family, the blessings of elders, and the love that outlives even dynasties. So when we ask, what is the value of a grandmother's blessing? The answer is simple: it is priceless. Because in that moment, Princess Leonor was no longer just the heir to Spain's throne. She was the keeper of a new legacy, one carried in her heart, in her hands, and in the ancestral gifts entrusted to her care. And perhaps, years from now, when she herself becomes queen, she will take those same heirlooms and place them into the hands of a new generation, continuing the chain of blessings that began, on this day, with a grandmother's love.